My... No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken, episode number 300. And breaking today, Elon Musk rains on Nigel Farage's parade, with the world's richest man issuing a shock challenge to the Reform UK leader to proudly fly the St George's England flag while backing Rupert Lowe. That somewhat overshadows the poll-leading party's long-awaited mass deportation plan. But which Nigel should we believe?
It's a political impossibility to deport hundreds of thousands of people. We simply can't do it.
We can deport hundreds of thousands of people over the 5 years of a Reform government. Thank you.
And whose response on the right should we trust? Rupert Lowe, who says this is not a real mass deportation plan, or Julia Hartley Brewer, who has revealed live on air that she will quit Talk TV to help Farage implement the plan in Downing Street.
I will leave this job and I will come and work in government to push this policy through.
My analysis of an Overton window shifting day in British politics thanks to the so-called online right in my digest next. Then Peter Whittle, the founder and director of the New Culture Forum, joins me live. Also coming up on the show today, Notting Hill Carnage as a double stabbing takes place at Sadiq Khan's out-of-control so-called multicultural celebration with arrest numbers soaring well over 500. Surely it's now time just to shut this damn thing down. Ian Lee bans Reform UK voters who he derides as racist from buying tickets to his new live show. Is that a sort of lefty discrimination? Is it really allowed? And the town that diversity destroyed. We'll take a close-up look at the tragic case of Bournemouth. Then we have a very special uncancelled after show today on Substack as usual, but for one day only, I want you to stick with us here on YouTube because we will be premiering the show live. My crack team of royal commentators have watched all 283 minutes of With Love Meghan Season 2 to provide you with every awkward interaction, every dig at the royal family, and every cringe lie about Prince Harry, so you don't have to watch. You can see there joining me for this special episode-by-episode rundown, Angela Levin, Samantha Markle, the Sidley twins, and Lauren Lunn Farrow. So all you have to do today, for one day only, is just stick around on YouTube. At the end of the show, we will be premiering it live, and I really, really hope you get a taster of what we do over on Substack every day. Also, at the end of the show, we'll be revealing a brand new Greatest Britain and Union Jackass. You choose the worst Britain in the world today. Here are your nominees. Emma Barnett, nominated by It's Only Me 44 for her deranged outburst over Reform's illegal immigration policy. I'm going to play that to you in the digest in just one moment. Femi Olawale, nominated by Mad Dog Photo. Can we please have him on the list of jackasses on a permanent basis? Well, no, that won't do, but today you certainly can. And Ian Lee, nominated by Real Metcalf for banning any Reform voters coming to his show, branding all thick and racist disgusting. So 3 interesting choices there. Obviously, Ian Lee, Emma Barnett feature later in today's show. Femi Olawale, you know what was going on with him and Lucy Connolly yesterday. So get your votes in, get your comments in for our 300th show. But now, let's go. Nigel Farage was unequivocal when launching Operation Restoring Justice today. Mass deportations are possible.
We can deport hundreds of thousands of people over the 5 years of a Reform government.
But his plan today represents a massive victory for the so-called online right. You know, commentators like me, who Farage and Zia Youssef were dismissing just a few short months ago as unrealistic or extremists on the fringes for demanding mass deportations of every single illegal migrant in the country, no matter when they arrived. Indeed, Nigel had even declared to Stephen Edgington of GB News in that now infamous interview that deporting hundreds of thousands of criminals was impossible.
It's a political impossibility to deport hundreds of thousands of people. We simply can't do it. At the moment, it's a political impossibility.
But is it your ambition?
No. Yeah, I'm not going to get dragged down the route of mass deportations or anything like that. Yeah, I mean, people are always going to come and go, and we are a country that's engaged in international trade, and we have relationships around the world through the Commonwealth, etc. But yeah, we have to aim at a balanced migration policy.
But net zero still means hundreds of thousands of people coming into Britain, immigrants coming into Britain. Isn't that too many?
It may well be, but we have to start somewhere.
Trump says in America that he wants mass deportations. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants are in Britain at the moment. Some estimates say the number could even be in, 1 million plus. So do you support deporting all of those people?
It's impossible to do. Literally impossible to do.
In terms of the atmosphere in Britain, are you concerned that there is a rising level of anti-white hatred?
I'm just concerned about a deeply divided society.
So it is a question of, will the real Mr. Farage please stand up, as his robust plan today calls for the UK to quit all foreign treaties used by lawyers to hamper deportations, up to 650,000 deportations over Reform's first term in power. That's 288,000 a year. Savings up over £40 billion. Instant detention in camps for those entering the country. Threats to countries refusing to accept returns treaties. Rejection of concerns about what happens to illegal migrants when they're deported. Sweeping detention powers for the Home Secretary. Anyone who comes here illegally will be ineligible entirely to claim asylum. But does today's mass deportation plan really deliver? Well, there are two clear schools of thought on this within the so-called online right. The first is that reform is the best we are ever going to get, and they've moved as far to the right on this issue as they'll go. Indeed, Julia Hartley Brewer, the star host of Talk TV, today pledged live on air during her show, I wonder how her bosses felt about that she will quit her media career to help push through Farage's plan.
I'll say this right now on camera, and I'll say this to Nigel Farage right now. I will leave this job, and I will come and work in government to push this policy through, because I'm willing to take all the flack. I'm willing to take all the name calling. I don't care. I've had it for years, and I've been talking about this issue since, about 2000. I've got a long track record on this. I am absolutely willing to go into government on a non-party political basis, go into government to help get that job done, because I think that job needs doing. I'll swear to you right now, I will happily do that. Happy to take on the civil service, happy to take on the House of Lords, happy to take on the human rights lawyers, happy to do that, because this is a job that we need doing. And if we want our country to stay the country that it almost still is for our children, for the future, I'm afraid this is what we're going to have to do. It's going to have to be, all hands on deck, and we're going to have to do it. And I think it involves everybody. Don't just talk the talk, walk the walk. There we are. That's my offer to you, Nigel. Anyway, 11:26 is at the time.
But not everyone is as convinced. World by Wolf posted in April, Zia Yusuf promised we'd have a comprehensive plan to deport all illegal immigrants currently in the UK within 5 years. Today, Nigel Farage got on stage and said deporting millions of illegals is impossible, and we'll have to settle for deporting 650,000 of them. And it was actually GB News which, surprisingly, given Farage as their star presenter, questioned him on his 180.
Nigel Farage, last September you told GB News that it was a political impossibility to deport hundreds of thousands of people and that you simply couldn't do it. What has changed your mind that you now believe that you can?
The political impossibility was deporting millions and millions of people, and that's where the argument had gone. We had a situation, a political difficulty within Reform UK. This does happen to parties. They do have difficulties and problems. We had a problem that one of our MPs, who's no longer an MP, was talking about deporting entire communities, including people who've been born here. And frankly, we found that unacceptable. And so I just did not want, I think you can quote me for another interview, to get dragged down the route of mass deportation.
Rupert used that slide to take Nigel on directly. So after Farage posted, there is only one way to stop people coming into Britain illegally. We must to detain and deport them. It's time for bold action. Rupert shot back. Your 3.5-page policy document is weak as piss, Farage. How on earth has it taken you so long to cobble this together? This isn't mass deportations. Your plan barely scratches the surface. 500,000 deportations? It's not enough. It's pathetic. That needs to be quadrupled at least. You stood across from me in that Essex hotel room and instructed me to remove the term mass deportation. You told the Telegraph it was a very grave, dark, and dangerous use of language. Were you lying then or now? Which is it? Radical problems require radical solutions. There easily will be 2 million plus illegals by 2029, likely far more. They all need to go. Not some, as you were suggesting, but all. Britain needs real mass deportations. And he actually went much further than that. He said, Farage has just attacked me for backing mass deportations. Let me be clear about what happened. What he is referring to is my support for removing foreign dual nationals who were aware that their husband, brother, uncle, or son was raping vulnerable young white girls on an industrial scale. If they knew and did nothing, then yes, they should be removed from our country. I make absolutely no apologies for stating that. I do not want such evil walking our streets. Deport them all. If that results in entire communities being deported, then that is what must happen. Obviously, the number is irrelevant. Everyone who knew and did nothing must go. If a Pakistani woman knew that her husband was raping a young white girl, facilitating it, then yes, she should go back to Pakistan with her husband. It's shocking that Farage doesn't agree. At a reform event in Essex, Farage even removed the line mass deportation from my speech. He later told the Telegraph he thought it was a very grave, dark, and dangerous use of language. What's changed? In that same speech, he instructed me to remove a reference to deporting these complicit foreign nationals. I refused. I'm glad I did. He said millions can't go. I disagree. My position is clear, and it's one the British people agree with. Mass deportation of every single illegal migrant. Abolish the entire asylum system. Review all refugee claims given to illegal arrivals with deportation the default. And actually, the biggest problem of all, legal immigration. A large number of legal migrants who have failed to uphold their end of the deal need to go home too. Not working, not contributing, not integrating, not speaking English. Go home. From what I can see, the reform plan is nowhere near enough. Even on deporting illegals, it's just not enough. It's weak. They all must go, not some, all. Farage also was questioned why my plan would cost far more than his. His response, because Zia is really good at maths. No, it's because your plan is weak. All very disappointing. We need to be brave to take our country back, and this is not brave. We have already shifted the entire public debate in 6 months. Let's keep pushing. Mass deportations, and I mean proper mass deportations, must happen. And huge news today, because Rupert Lowe received strong backing on this very crucial day for Nigel Farage from the international head of the online right, Elon Musk, who started the day by posting our gorgeous St. George's flag, prompting Tommy Robinson to respond, revolution is coming. Nothing can stop it. The silent majority will be silent no more. Join us in our stand against tyranny on September the 13th. Where Nigel posted this morning, look at these scenes from yesterday. As another 650 illegals arrived in Dover, Reform will announce our blueprint for deportations. Elon called him out, writing post the flag of England. By the way, he also called for reform in the Church of England, arguing that it has been compromised. But this was very interesting to me because, making his allegiance clear, Musk then posted research from Rupert Lowe's rape gang inquiry, pointing out that 85 cities in Britain where local authorities were complicit in the rape of children. So the clear understanding there is that Musk has not got back on board the Farage train, despite the mass deportation plan. And interestingly, he has targeted Farage for seemingly being scared of using the St. George's flag, the England flag, because today, of course, he was behind what he described as the biggest Union Jack in the country, but there was no St. George's flag. Of course, the MSM has been shaken to its very core, having to even countenance a discussion about mass deportations. Indeed, Emma Barnett, on the BBC's Today programme, had the cheek to suggest Zia Youssef couldn't state an actual fact. Why, you might ask? Well, because no doubt it upset her liberal sensibility. Listen to this.
Coming across the channel illegally are meaningfully more likely to be convicted of serious offences, including rape, including murder.
You cannot say that. There's not facts to back that up.
There absolutely are facts to back that up. So if you look at, for example, 22 times, Afghan nationals are 22 times more likely to be convicted of a sex offence. This is the native British people. Those are government statistics, and it's not a surprise. It is not a surprise that
who's a native British person, by the way? When you say native British people, what's your definition of that?
Citizens of this country.
Okay.
British nationals.
Right. So not necessarily somebody who was born here, somebody who perhaps has gained citizenship after arriving.
No, we're talking about British nationals. So yeah, that's the way the data is cut. And so look, that is not us or me casting a subjective aspersion on anybody. That is a data point from the government. So if you don't like the data point, you'd have to demonstrate how it is false. And that is why, by the way, the country has had enough of this. We've had enough.
How dare the BBC tell him you can't say that when he's stating a fact? But it just shows you that facts don't matter to them. But as I've made clear, the right is just as unhappy today, with Maya Tousi responding to Farage's plan this way. I thought it was politically impossible. As Reform said previously, that's the thing with party politics. They go where the wind blows. Keep pressure on them and they'll eventually follow you. They're not leaders, they're followers. And actually, I think that's our job here in the independent media on what is my 300th show of Outspoken. Let's necessitate these conversations. But I did want to give some credit to Farage for just 1 minute, because maybe what's happening is that today he finally feels confident to express how he really feels. As World by Wolf pointed out about this unearthed clip that I'm about to show you, is this the real Nigel Farage? Here he demonstrates his encyclopedic knowledge of Enoch Powell. Powell was his political hero, and Farage calls him extraordinary in every way. Where did this Farage go? Clearly he was corrupted somewhere along the way. A tragedy. Well, watch this and maybe hope that this Nigel Farage has today returned.
The bloke was extraordinary in every way, but he said, I feel like the Roman, standing on the banks of the Tiber, foaming with much blood. And of course it became known as the Rivers of Blood speech. The problem with that speech was this, that you need to be in politics, if you're there not just for a career, but you're there to change things, to move things on, you need to be ahead of public opinion, to try and be a magnet, and to bring public opinion and bits of the media and change with you. I've done that throughout the last 20 years. I've tried to keep putting the flag, further and further out in the ground. But there's a problem if you go too far ahead and you go to a place that people simply aren't ready to even conceive. And it led to the destruction of the career of, without doubt, the most talented post-war politician in Britain. But it did something else. It also allowed that liberal media elite to make immigration a banned subject. And from 1968 until me in 2003-4, nobody with a sensible voice or view in British politics dared to touch the subject. So the irony was that Powell was right in many ways, not in every way, but right in many ways. The irony was he stopped it being a debate.
So, are we getting the old Nigel Farage back? To react now, Peter Whittle, the founder and director of the New Culture Forum. Peter, huge day in British politics, one that has been somewhat overshadowed, at least online, by Elon Musk's intervention. I want to come to that in just one moment. But first, what do you make of Reform UK's plan? Who's right on this? Is Julia Hartley Brewer right, saying actually this is a plan that she can get behind? She would happily, or she is planning to quit her job and go and help Nigel in Downing Street. It's that good. Or Rupert Lowe, who says, actually, this is just 600,000 people. It's not a proper mass deportation plan at all.
Well, my attitude to it, my reaction to it was, first of all, pleased to actually see, sort of figures out there, actually, and practical measures. I think this is the first time we've seen this from any party. So that in itself is extremely refreshing and encouraging. When it comes to, I think it's entirely doable. I don't believe that, Nigel was right when he said that originally about things not being doable. Can't go down that route and those sort of things he said. I think it's completely doable. When there is a will to do something like this, then there is always a way, Dan. And if nothing else, the pandemic actually is what taught us that, and taught many people that governments they can move heaven and earth when they need to. So I've been broadly encouraged by it. I think Julia was very brave to sort of say on air that she would leave her job and go and help. I'm broadly behind it. I think that one thing I would say is that it could well be that, in fact, it gets even more radical as time goes on. We are still maybe 3 or 4 years away from an election.
Yes. What do you make of this Elon Musk intervention today? Because the timing is not coincidental. He's well aware that Farage is launching this mass deportation plan. He started, and I thought it was glorious and beautiful, by the way, posting that St. George's flag. But 2 direct responses to Nigel Farage. One, really calling him out for not using this flag. And you will note today, Peter, and for a lot of reasons you can understand why, of course, Reform UK is a party of the United Kingdom, but he seems to have picked up on this sense that Nigel Farage is in some way not completely embracing this raising the colours movement, certainly not when it comes to the England flag.
Yes, it's interesting actually, because there's no question that the England flag absolutely predominates, in this particular initiative that's been going on, raising the colours. I spoke about this actually on the New Culture Forum yesterday. Enormous response, actually, Dan. I mean, you talk about the Overton window, shifting. I mean, it's extraordinary. People just are so sort of relieved to see some form of reaction, and I would say of the very best kind, i.e. a peaceful one. No one is suggesting anything else other than that, but that it's a kind of a mass movement which has actually come from the absolute grassroots. It's a groundswell, in a classic case of a groundswell. And I think that's wonderful. When it comes to Elon Musk, I mean, I think that, I would say that Nigel can't then start posting, just because Elon's told him to, in the nature of these things. My sort of perception is that in these matters, that Elon Musk's voice has sort of diminished anyway. I feel we've got the kind of wind in our sails ourselves now. But of course, one wants his support. But I think that whereas once upon a time it was sort of directing things, I don't think it is now. One thing I would say, by the way, about this point that people have been mentioning about leadership and how, Nigel was saying one thing and then basically now he's following, the public, where the public opinion is going. I'd say one thing about that, and I worked with Nigel very closely for a long time, actually, Dan. Where I always admired him is that he was doing everything a leader should do when it came to Brexit. When he started UKIP in 1993, I mean, essentially, you were a nutcase if you believed in leaving the EU. It was the most kind of fringe beliefs. And he stuck at it for 20 years until the early noughties, or finally broke through. Well, if that isn't doing what you're meant to do as a leader, and I don't know what is. I mean, if you bring people round to your view, then basically, that is what leadership is. If there's a difference this time, I think it is because it's a new game they're playing. It's an entirely new game. You're talking about something which should have been unthinkable even a year ago, and that is a Farage government. And so I think there might be an element of having, carrying the Ming vase very carefully across, the shiny floor, as they always say about elections. So I think that is what I would say possibly is behind that. But I mean, I think it is they are getting youth reform to an entirely new game. Actually, for that matter, so are we. I mean, I found it extraordinary and interesting. If this is how a government is going to be, a reform government is going to be, at the press conference this morning in that big hangar, which I thought was quite inspired actually to do it there. You might have, I don't know whether you watched it all.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, all the mainstream media, all that they were concerned about was what would happen to these people if they returned to various countries. It didn't give a damn about anything to do with the British people. They never even mentioned any victims of any of these people. They did not mention social cohesion. They didn't mention any of the things that worry, I would say, the vast majority of people, and certainly people like you and me, at all. All they were talking about was, are you quite happy for people to go back with the possibility that they will be tortured or something like that?
To Afghanistan, the Taliban, totally. I mean, they showed their true colours.
No, they showed their true colours. I would say this, and this is another thing, and I know I'm going on a bit now to break down, but the fact is that compared to Brexit, getting this sort of thing done is going to, Brexit will be like a tea party, because how people in our establishment have defined themselves for so long now is on issues such as this, on their attitude to migration, on their belief that somehow their responsibility is to the global community, not to the British one, their general disdain, therefore, for the British one, their dislike of the nation, all of these things. They are going to fight tooth and nail. I think it is going to be the hardest battle to get these things implemented. That, by the way, is not saying they shouldn't be put forward to be implemented. Of course they should. It's just that I think that we've got a mother of all battles facing us. And in fact, we saw it in a brief way this morning with the mainstream press all assembled there.
Breaking right now, the Notting Hill Carnival is a murderous disgrace on the United Kingdom and must be shut down once and for all. Unfortunately, all you're being told by the mainstream media and even the police is propaganda. But the new statistics which have just been revealed prove that Cannes Festival, it was more out of control this year, despite all of the extra policing and even the introduction of dystopian facial recognition technology. Look at this new release, just out from the Metropolitan Police, who of course report to Sadiq Khan. Carnival, so this is the actual headline. Carnival sees a reduction in serious violence as officers make 528 arrests. Now let me show you the graphic of arrests since the year 2000, and you will see quite clearly that that means there have been far more arrests this year than in previous years. And as you can see, since COVID, far, far higher. And that means that this carnival is getting more violent. But back to the propaganda from the Metropolitan Police. A proactive policing operation led to 528 arrests and a reduction in serious violence over the 2 main days of the Notting Hill Carnival. There were 200 arrests on Sunday and 328 on Monday. Officers responded to 4 reports of stabbing or slashing incidents. Now, I just want us to take a step back for a single second and imagine that I was reading out that bulletin from the police about next month's Uniting the Kingdom rally being hosted by Tommy Robinson, or I was reading that report from the police about a migrant hotel protest in Epping. It would never happen, because this is propaganda, and it is propaganda designed to keep us silenced about shocking violence from this despicable, murderous event, which does not prove that multiculturalism is alive and well, but indeed quite the opposite. And I am so sick of the hypocrisy. I mean, I was looking at the mainstream media yesterday. I've got some headlines from the BBC, for example. Look, you'd think this was just a really positive parade getting into full swing. No. There were 528 arrests. Colourful Notting Hill Carnival revellers party in the streets. It was even worse over on Sly News. Watch this from their so-called reporter, Shaman Freeman Powell.
I am taking part. I've infiltrated the extreme carnival band, which is currently repping St. Lucia. As you can see, it's all very chaotic. Carnival is now in full swing. I'm currently with this band who's got this amazing costumes, as I say, they're representing St. Lucia. Today is Adults Day. Yesterday we saw the children's parade. Today is the day for adults to have fun and take part in the carnival parade.
Sly News is the regime media, right? It is not a legitimate outlet, because do you remember at the last Tommy Robinson rally, even though there was no violence or no arrest, they sent their crime correspondent because they were so determined to make this an issue of police and violence. At an event like Notting Hill Carnival, where there is so much violence that 4 people are being stabbed, 528 people are being arrested, guess what Shaman Freeman Powell went on to do? She went on to dance in the parade, live on air.
And for someone that's never been to Carnival, can you teach us a dance, teach us a move? How do you move to the rhythm of the music?
So when you're walking on the road, it's fast paced, so you kind of just have to walk.
Okay, like that?
And go with the road.
Right. Are my hips swaying enough?
And
Are they swaying? Are they? Okay. There you have it. Around 1 million people will be taking part this weekend, enjoying the celebration of Caribbean culture, of British culture, of multiculturalism.
Can you believe that? She is literally dancing in the streets as hundreds of people are getting arrested, and they just ignore that. And most of the mainstream media does. I mean, Paul Joseph Watson pointed this out from The Times and wrote otherwise peaceful apart from the check notes 140 arrests. And there is the Times headline, Notting Hill Carnival 140 arrests on otherwise peaceful Sunday. And of course, it just got worse. I mean, let me take you through the list, the actual list, a breakdown of the offences. There were 32 assaults on police, 46 examples of possession of an offensive weapon, 70 examples of possession of cannabis, 32 arrests for possession of Class A drugs, 44 arrests for drug supply, 5 for robbery, 4 for violence with injury, 36 for other violence, 18 sexual offences, and 136 other offences. Not to mention the fact that there were 100 arrested in raids before the Notting Hill Carnival even began. So I repeat, this is a murderous, violent festival that the mainstream media works with the political establishment to cover up. And there is absolutely zero chance that if we were talking about any other type of event, certainly an event involving, for example, football, or an event where people might be raising the colours and waving the St. George's flag, that it would even be countenanced, that it was allowed to continue. And I actually loved this from Peter Lloyd, the suffragette, who really blew a hole in Sadiq Khan's claims about this festival.
Welcome to Carnival. The streets have come alive in Notting Hill as we celebrate Carnival. This celebration of Caribbean culture sees people of diverse backgrounds come together to enjoy food, dance, music and so much more. This year's Carnival has additional significance as we mark 75 years since the Windrush generation, and we pay tribute to the Caribbean men and women who came to our city and forged a new Britain after the Second World War. I want to thank everyone who's planned this event for months, as it's one of the biggest celebrations of our diversity.
Peter Whittle, founder and director of the New Culture Forum. I'm sick of this. I am so sick of this now. How on earth can we just sit back as the mainstream media literally pretend like this event is something that it's not? It's insanity.
It is insanity, Dan. When I was on the London Assembly, which of course is the body, a totally anonymous body that basically surrounds Sadiq Khan, in London, the Notting Hill Carnival was sort of like this extraordinary sort of emblem of everything they believed in. And indeed, that goes for the media too, actually. But somehow that you could not criticize it, not really. You could talk about safety measures or whatever it would be, but essentially it really was an emblem of everything that they believed in and indeed everything they thought London should be. And so the idea that you would stop it because it just wasn't working, well, that would come as a kind of absolute body blow to these people's beliefs, in diversity is our strength, diversity is not our strength. I'm sorry, I'll say that quite clearly. I think that a lot of people will happily say that now because everything has shifted very much. It's absolutely not. The point about the Notting Hill Carnival, which has been going for, I think it's since the 1950s, I think, maybe the very earliest 1950s, is that it was always great trouble. It was always sort of like basically trouble usually on a Sunday night and then on the bank holiday Monday. People in Notting Hill hate it. There are all sorts of things that happen that now we no longer hear about simply because we're not told. I mean, so for example, police just told in many ways to go easy on people. Is to just simply not arrest them
because they do not want the statistics. I mean, we've seen that from the way that they have framed this. It's like, oh my God, Peter, we now live in a world where the police don't actually just tell us straight what happened at an event. It comes with a clear political philosophy. And I just want you to weigh in, Peter, on what you think the chances are. I mean, you know a lot about these politics of London, given your history on the London Assembly. And Ant Middleton, he genuinely believes he's got a shot, even though he will be running independently for the mayor of London. And this is a very patriotic guy. He's changed his whole X profile now just to the St. George's flag. And this is what he's had to say about this, Peter. A firm reality of modern day London to which Khan promotes with pride. This is why we need the next mayor of London to prioritise and uphold Christian values, morals and principle, and not third world, backwards, divisive and uneducated cultures. He went on to say, this is why I must become the next mayor of London. We literally have to make this happen so I can put a stop to this absolute madness, unprofessionalism, incorrect and embarrassing use of police resources immediately. I need to lead our capital city, full stop. I will call upon the British people when the time comes. And I have to be honest, Peter Whittle, I am goddamn with this man. I am completely with this man because Evolution isn't going to work in London. Like, the greatest city in the world has been destroyed. We need a revolution. And I'm feeling like he might be the one to do it.
I think of everybody, who basically broadly comes from outside of the argument. I can't think of anyone who'd be better placed. I mean, first of all, and crucially, he has got familiarity. I mean, people know who he is. I'm not sure, Dan, maybe whether in fact Reform are going to adopt him as a candidate or not.
Well, no, so they've said no. They've said no because, of course, he's supported Tommy Robinson, hasn't he? So they're now pushing, Reform is pushing this woman, Layla Cunningham, who is seemingly very good on law and order. She is a Muslim woman, and clearly they believe that they've got to go for this identity politics thing, which I think is disappointing. I mean, why the hell they turned on Ant Middleton, Peter, I will never for the life of me understand. They took him. Nigel Farage took him to Washington, D.C. to be there by his side for the inauguration of Donald Trump. He sends a tweet out supporting Tommy Robinson and has committed to speak at the Uniting the Kingdom rally next month, and he's dropped. And I just think it is so ridiculous and short-sighted on the behalf of Reform UK. But we know this is what they do.
Yeah, I think that is a bad move to do that. I think the thing is what he's up against, which is undeniable, whoever you're talking about, is that London has changed so drastically. People now, they vote along cultural lines. They vote along cultural lines. In London now, it's like 37% white British. When I was born, 1961, it was 91% white British. In my lifetime, the whole city has entirely transformed, not just in the way that organically cities do, but actually in terms of what it actually is and who the people are. So all the parties scramble to try to respond to that. However, having said that, good luck to him. I mean, really good luck to him. And I do think that essentially, if anyone could pull it off, it would be him, because no one coming from any of the, basically from the bowels of the various parties, they're just not going to be known enough. I mean, does anyone remember who the Tory was standing at the last, election in London for the mayor? I don't think they can. It's not regardless of whether she was good or bad. But I think good luck to him. I think he would he'd be taking on a huge battle. Every single hustings would be against him. Every single institution would be against him. It would require some balls to do it. I think he's probably got them, don't you think?
I think if anyone has, I think he has. I mean, come on. He's an SAS guy. Do you know what I mean? He's got a criminal record. I don't have a problem with that. I want a hard man. I want a tough man. I want our version of Rudy Giuliani, who's going to say, enough is enough, because this city has to be saved. At this rate, people like me, we just want out. We just want out, because what's happened is so horrendous. And then we see an event like the Notting Hill Carnival. We see it with our own eyes. We see what's going on. We see the levels of crime. And then it's like we're living in a dystopian parallel universe where you've got Sly News dancing in the bloody street as people are being stabbed. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. Breaking right now, Ian Lee, the former talk radio presenter and I'm a Celebrity contestant, has sparked outrage and a free speech debate after publicly declaring that he doesn't want Reform UK supporters, voters, doesn't even mean MPs or members, but even if you're a supporter or a voter of Reform UK, he doesn't want you at his comedy event. Watch this video.
I'm doing a show at the Stables in Wavendon, Sunday, October the 5th. Can I just say, there are only 6 tickets left, and I've got a request. If you vote for Reform, and or you're a massive racist, if you vote for Reform you are, please don't buy tickets for my show. Please don't comment below. Please don't interact with me. I don't want anything to do with you. These tickets are for nice, non-racist, non-thick people. Thank you.
I mean, Peter Whittle, Ian Lee is a nasty, vile piece of work. I mean, I had the displeasure of working with him actually at Talk Radio. So I think in some ways this says more about him. But at the same time, unfortunately, I do see this becoming a trend in the division of which we're dealing with in this country. And it always comes from the left, Peter. It always comes from the left. People who are wanting to cancel others. But where do you stand on this? Like, should we in some way say, okay, Ian Lee has free speech too, and if he wants to ban a particular group of voters, even if it is over 30% of the country from his event, that's fair enough? Because I just imagine if it was another group of people that were intending to be banned, the left would be up in arms.
Yes. Oh, of course they would. The fact is, though, as you just alluded to, it never happens because basically it's always coming from these so-called tolerant, kind people. You know, one of the great sort of secrets of the past, 50 years about the left is that they're actually nasty, awful people.
Yep.
Resentful, spiteful, nasty people. And somehow or other, they got themselves very good PR for quite a while, where in fact, they were actually the good-hearted people, the sensitive people, not so. This character, whom I have to say I did not know before, Dan, I'm not familiar with him, but I, in a way, don't have to be because I kind of know what, you just got to look at him. Ghastly man, sounds like a ghastly man. When it comes to banning, I don't see how, let him get on with it. I mean, I wouldn't want to go to his show if that's what he sort of thought. This is one of the problems with the kind of left-wing entertainment and arts establishment. After a while, people sense, if it's not actually made completely crystal clear, like in this case, people sense that, you know what, these people, they don't like me. I mean, for example, take Have I Got News for You on the BBC, a nice, once upon a time, mainstream kind of show that everyone watched. But it became quite clear that to many people, including people like myself, I was sort of thinking, the people on the panel here, they probably don't like the likes of me. They don't like right-wing people, they don't like conservatives, they don't like Brexiteers, they don't like any of these things. So why should I watch you? Why should I give you my ticket money? Why should I watch you on TV? Why should I buy a ticket to your film? So any kind of division that there has been comes entirely from these people. I can't imagine a conservative, or right-leaning performer even saying, I don't want left.
No way. Because we are tolerant. I mean, Peter, I think back to like when YouTube banned Novara Media, and I was the first to say, get them back, even though they are my sworn enemies and they have tried to destroy me so many times, because I believe that they still have a right to free speech, even if I disagree with everything that comes out of that vile little goblin Owen Jones's mouth. But I do think we're seeing the left become so toxic in this country, Peter. I've got another video to show you, actually. This is in regards to the Raising the Colours campaign, but there's now a counter campaign where the left are not only taking down our beautiful national symbol, but actually quite revoltingly getting social media clout by stamping all over our flag, something that, Donald Trump in America would say you should go to prison for a year for. Watch this. And I mean, look, a typical ugly woke-topian, ugly both in looks and attitude, I would argue. But
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
this is happening more and more.
I think, do you know what? In a way, Dan, I'm sort of almost tempted to say let them do it, and basically by their actions they reveal themselves.
Well, yes, because compare it to this. Just before you go on, Peter, I just want to play some of the beautiful patriotic images of the people who are raising the colours, and I think you get a contrast. But you go on, Peter.
Yeah. No, I think yes, you can see by this. I've been down to Epping. I've been to Canary Wharf. Been to a number of different places. They are characterized by their peacefulness, characterized by the fact that there are families at these demonstrations, but also when it comes to actually putting the things up, who can possibly, you've only got to look at social media really. Look at X, and some of the comments from people who are against this, from kind of liberal left, usually kind of professional left-wing types. The condescension, the snobbery is almost off the scale. It is quite extraordinary. They have this visceral hatred for this flag, or whether it's the Union Jack, or whether it's this one, the Cross of St. George. And if people want to do that, if they want to stamp it, they always take it one step further, as you say. They have to be aggressive. Let them do it and face the consequences. Frankly, I think that actually besmirching the flag like that, if I weren't if I weren't a free speech fundamentalist, which I sort of am really, I would love.
I know. It's always that hard. It's that hard call, isn't it? But it's also, Peter. It's not just the hard left. It's also sort of the Cameroons, the centrist Tories that are showing their true colours. I want to show you an astonishing interview by Saïda Vazi. I mean, I think she has now left the Conservative Party, but remember, for a long time, she was a prominent member of the Conservative Party, who seems to be calling here on LBC people flying the St. George's flag as knuckle-dragging racists. Watch this.
Who have in the past been attacked by people who have flown these flags, who have been in areas where these flags have been used as a tool of incitement and hatred and division, do feel that the use of this symbol once again by people on the far right as a divisive symbol should be condemned. And I condemn them. As somebody who's the granddaughter of two men who served in the British Indian Army, as the niece of a great uncle who was taken prisoner of war, and as the mother of a child who still serves in our armed forces today, I am incredibly proud of the Union flag and of the St. George's Cross. And that's why we've got to take it off these knuckle-dragging racists, because we've got to say to them, you're not going to be allowed to use this symbol as a way of dividing our country. And that actually, and I go back to this, racists are no patriots. There are people in this country who are projecting themselves as patriots, but the way in which they are dividing the country, setting communities against each other, setting our communities and our country alight, they're arsonists, they're not patriots, and we've got to call them out for what they are.
I mean, just extraordinary, Peter. Absolutely extraordinary.
It's extraordinary, but also, yes, you're quite right. Not just prominent in the Conservative Party. I think she was actually chairman, was she not? Or chairperson?
Yes, she was. She was. Yeah, under Cameron.
I mean, it's kind of predictable from her, because basically, and also it's so disingenuous. When she says, I'm proud of the England flag, I'm proud. No, you're not. Not really. You're proud of the Union flag too. I mean, fact is that people like Varsi, they don't really like the flag very much. They don't make such a song and dance about, I don't know, the kind of flags we've been seeing in London over the past 4 years, with all the kind of hate marches that there have been in London. Where did she protest about any of that? No, I don't think so. I mean, it's always, eliding basically people, ordinary people, usually, with the flag as being racist. It's not working anymore. It's just not working anymore. You know, you've had this every time. People say, oh, we have to take the Union flag or the George Cross, we have to get it out of the hands of the far right. Otherwise, we don't mind it. It's absolute rubbish. You know, they don't like the flag anyway. They don't, whether whoever's hands it's in, they do not like it. They detest it. They detest the whole thing of what it actually stands for, which is pride and nationhood and all of these things. I think that they are, to quote a much overused phrase these days, they're on the wrong side of history. And I think this is going to become much, much clearer as time goes on. We're seeing it actually happening now. I think that, you know, there are two sets of people here. There are the kind of people who I think are politically, you know, ideologues who are against it. But then there are also the people who I would call are kind of knee-jerk, they're knee-jerk self-loathers, self-haters, you know, which we have way too many of in this country. And you get a lot of those as well on the Conservative side, you know, particularly in the modern Conservative Party. This idea that somehow, as Cameron once said, we don't do flags, you know, the implication being is that, you know, this is all very vulgar and populist. Well, I'm afraid that actually the time has come, we know that the time is well and truly past. We have to do flags now. The situation is grave enough, and there is enough at stake that we have to do flags, and we should do them.
Bournemouth, Britain's seaside paradise, has been destroyed. Violent crime has surged to 11,551 incidents, turning the resort into the Wild West amid horrific attacks and even murders. And then look at the beach itself. Ezra Levant of Rebel News posted, "This is not Gaza. This is Bournemouth in the UK. Here's the video that has gone viral." So what has happened to Bournemouth? Well, in a major new documentary for the New Culture Forum, Peter Whittle has argued that it is the town that diversity destroyed. Watch.
Our political class, in their munificence, showered Bournemouth with the cultural riches of the third world. And what has been the result? Today, just a generation later, Bournemouth is plagued by rape, child rape, violence, murder, sectarianism, gangs, and citizen militias. Many locals, women especially, are now afraid to go out into the centre after dark. What on earth has happened here?
And the cases are horrendous, but none worse so than one which is very close to my heart, having got to know his father, the death of Thomas Roberts.
In 2021, a 15-year-old girl was dragged into the sea and raped by one Gabriel Marinocha. Then, in early 2022, an Afghan asylum seeker, Lawagin Absul Ramazani, stabbed a local man to death, Thomas Roberts. The Afghan had killed 2 people in Serbia previously, had fled to Norway, where his asylum claim was rejected, and then had come to Britain, where he claimed to be just 14 years old and was granted asylum. In 2023, a group of Asian males sexually assaulted a 17-year-old boy while he was swimming in the sea. The same day, 2 16-year-old girls were assaulted outside a fish and chip shop. One sexually, the other was slapped. A week later, 2 young girls, aged just 10 and 11, were sexually assaulted while swimming in the sea. According to the superb essay in the Pimlico Journal on Bournemouth, none of these crimes have yet been prosecuted.
So why aren't locals getting involved, given what's happening to their town?
I think it's a real shame that feminist groups aren't getting involved. I can't believe they're not getting involved, and it just attests to their own cowardice. You know, they're so afraid of being called a racist that they will not protect women and girls from very clear data that supports that they are a threat and a danger to us.
Well, they weren't that good either on the grooming gangs, were they, either?
No, and already we're hearing reports that the migrants from the boats have been involved with the grooming gangs. And yeah, the silence, I think, is deafening from them, and I think they should be ashamed.
Yet the lefties say all is okay.
For those who insist, in defiance of their eyes and ears, that crime in Britain is actually falling and that we've never been safer, well, consider the following. In the 10 years from 2014, here in Bournemouth, the rate of rape has risen 276%. That's rapes have almost quadrupled, therefore, in 11 years. Violent crimes have risen 173%, almost tripled. Public order offences have risen 223%, more than tripled. In 2024, the rate of antisocial behaviour incidents was higher here than in any other part of the country, with the exception of Westminster.
But of course, this summer, everything has changed.
In towns and cities across Britain, this summer has seen people's patience finally snap. Protests have sprung up around the country, including in Bournemouth, mainly targeting the hotels where these alleged refugees are being housed. The wave of crime and antisocial behaviour they bring with them includes sexual and violent crime in particular. A July 2025 Daily Mail report found 312 asylum seekers in UK hotels had been charged with 708 crimes over just 3 years, including 18 rapes, 5 attempted rapes, 35 sexual assaults, 51 thefts, 89 assaults, 43 drug offences, 18 burglaries and 16 robberies. This data was from just 70 hotels. There are, in fact, 220 such hotels across the country.
And the host of that brilliant New Culture Forum documentary, Peter Whittle, is with me now. I'm delighted. It's exploding. It's going viral. It's had hundreds of thousands of views. It really deserves to, because Bournemouth is a case study, I believe, in the overall destruction of the United Kingdom.
Yes, I think it's particularly interesting case of Bournemouth, Dan, simply because, as you know, and just in case anyone else doesn't know, or anyone who's watching from outside the UK, Bournemouth was kind of a genteel place. It was, when it came to resorts, when I used to be taken as a kid, and indeed party conferences used to be held there. Also, it was always considered rather refined, rather middle class. It didn't have the rough edges, if you like, of Margate or Southend. But it has really, in a very short space of time, been transformed, as we say in this. And we found from the reaction of people to this documentary such relief that people were even talking about it. Because if it can, this is a feeling, if this can happen in Bournemouth, it can happen absolutely anywhere. And of course, it is happening anywhere and everywhere. I think that what I remember first made my ears prick up about this was that rape statistic that you highlighted there, where you've got basically something like a nearly 300% rise in rape. And it was completely concomitant with the huge surge in migration. We were sort of very carefully going to gather the evidence together for this. We then made actually another documentary with Alex Phillips all about sexual crime, you know, and how immigration had hugely turbocharged that. But in the case of Bournemouth, people have actually tried to do something. There is a kind of citizens group that's been formed, a security group to try to patrol the town. And now that we've highlighted the case, hopefully more will be done. The piece of clip you're showing here of this call to prayer,
I mean, what did you make of it? Because this has gone viral across the world, Peter, this clip.
Well, because yes, this happened, I think, just only last week or so. So, in other words, after we'd done this program. But when you look at it, all I see there is basically a show of dominance. I see, why cannot people be told you can go to your local mosque, or if you can go to the mosque if you're here for the day. There are mosques in Bournemouth. Go there and pray. Why do you have to do this outside? No other religion does this. Why do you have to do this? And it is, I would say, like it's increasingly the case in European countries, a show, a presence, a show of dominance. And yes, I don't like to see it. I don't like to see it. And I think that if you were down there on the beach with your family, I think your instinctive reaction, which then many people then cover up, remember, but your instinctive reaction would be one of discomfort. Why are you doing this? Why are you bringing in something to a completely sort of neutral and innocent setting of this, seaside town? It's a great, great shame. But I mean, what's happening in Bournemouth. But I think as well, it was highlighted in the media. When I say highlighted, they covered it. There was a female couple, one of them was murdered. The other one was very badly injured in an attack. That was on the beach. I'm not drawing any, connection with what we've just seen or anything. But nevertheless, these are serious, serious things. It's not just a sort of trend. You see, the point is, with all of this done, with whether it is Bournemouth, whether it's, and that's the young guy, Thomas, there, who was an aspiring Marine, and when you look at his case, you mentioned that, and you've seen you got to know his father.
Amazing man, and his life totally destroyed.
Totally destroyed. And also, if you look at the guy, all the things that it highlights, that one case shows such a level of ineptitude, incompetence, cowardice, and God knows what else, that in fact, it almost defies belief. It's got it all. Everyone had blood on their hands in that situation.
Yes. I mean, he time and again, this murderer, this terrorist murderer, slipped through the system to the point where he was in a school, with 15-year-olds. It was absolutely sick.
Yeah.
Got some breaking news here, though, Peter Whittle, which relates to what we were discussing earlier in the show, and exactly what I was predicting in terms of Elon Musk has just happened. This wasn't coincidental. His posts in regard to Nigel Farage earlier in the day, because he has now launched a full-throttled attack on the Reform UK leader. This has just been posted since we've been on air. I want to take you through it, and then I'll get your reaction, Peter. So Elon Musk has posted on X. Unfortunately, the reality is that Farage will do almost nothing to protect Britain. That is obvious. Existing law is clear that anyone who was an accessory to aggravated rape or murder, especially of children, is guilty of serious crime and must either serve time in prison if a citizen or be deported if not. The government simply needs to enforce the law. But Peter, huge line there. The reality is that Farage will do almost nothing to protect Britain. Shots fired for Elon Musk. And we have to remember that Farage and Nick Candy were sitting down with Elon Musk at Mar-a-Lago in January.
That's right, yes. It's I don't know, has Nigel Farage got back? Has he responded in any way?
No, I mean, Musk has literally posted that within the last 5 minutes.
Well, it's basically a shot across the bow, isn't it? I mean, it's just like, he's throwing down a gauntlet. But I don't know what the state of relations is between them now. But I mean, it would seem to me that, the best thing that Nigel could do would be to sort of just simply, actually, probably ignore it if he could bring himself to. But it's a difficult one. I tend to feel that basically I was broadly happy with what I saw today. I think that, I think there is more sincerity than maybe in Nigel than maybe Elon Musk gives him credit for.
Peter, another piece of breaking news. Are you a Swiftie?
I'm sorry?
Are you a Swiftie? Do you know what that means? A fan of Taylor Swift?
I know what it is. It's a fan of Swift. Yeah.
Literally, Justin, she's engaged to Travis Kelce, and this is going to be news which absolutely dominates pop culture. And of course, what interests me about this is the way that high-profile figures sort of engineer this now. Look, there's a full photo shoot which has been revealed, and they don't seem to do this with any publication or anything. They just put it out there all through, she was on his podcast the other day. This is an interesting one for me. I've actually, people might not know, but in my former life, I knew Taylor Swift pretty well, actually. I was one of the first people in the United Kingdom who sort of interviewed her and everything. Her pop culture impact is massive, and this will be a huge story. Peter, I guess we should probably just say congratulations. Let's hope you don't F her over, because otherwise you will be subjected to the most terrible treatment in album after album after album.
She is, she's been with this guy for quite some time, right?
Yeah, a decent period of time. Yeah. A decent period of time. I mean, a lot of people always thought she was going to end up with a Brit because, she was with the Brits for a very long time. But this dude's like, he's all American, he's the NFL superstar.
Yeah. No, I find the whole phenomenon of Taylor Swift very, very interesting. I mean, I think it's always hugely interesting why that particular person, like Madonna, actually, back in, that's my era in the 1980s. Why do these people become so big, so unbelievably influential? What is it? What does it say about the current, culture? I find that kind of very, very interesting. But I mean, I'm sure I know more of her songs than basically.
It's much better not to talk about Taylor Swift's politics, because she thought she was going to swing the US election when she came out in favor of Kamala Harris, and it fell flat on its face. So I think Taylor Swift was much better when she stayed out of politics. But look, Peter Whittle, I feel like we've done it all today. Good Lord. The breaking news from Elon Musk going on an attack against Nigel Farage to Taylor Swift being engaged. But of course, your brilliant, brilliant documentary on the way that diversity destroyed Bournemouth is available to watch as part of the Heresies series on the New Culture Forum. And I'm very delighted to say I am going to be appearing on the New Culture Forum this week on the Deprogrammed podcast, which I'm very, very excited about. So I'll show everyone that when it's out, but I'm recording that tomorrow morning. So Peter Whittle, thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed, Dan.
Thank you. Now, don't go anywhere, because, of course, straight after the show today, our major Royal Uncancelled after show is going to be premiering live on YouTube. I want you to be part of this. It's really good fun, so don't go anywhere, because it starts in just 5 minutes' time. But first, I want to reveal today's Greatest Britain and Union Jackass. Before I do that, though, to your comments, lots of super chats today. Stevie Lead says, anyone with a brain needs to be advanced UK party supporters. Farage is flip-flopping. Eclectic Deb says, it's amazing to me that there appears to be a worldwide script for this agenda. I hear the same exact garbage from the left here in the US. And Helen O.D. says, if people keep telling themselves that reform is the only hope, they are in big trouble. It's a long, long time till the next election. Plenty of time to test and challenge. That's sort of where I'm at, Helen. Stuart Pfeiffer says, I'll be voting for Advance UK. In my eyes, Reform is just another Labour or Conservative party. Farage will say one thing to get our votes, the flip-flop once in power. Dominus Diabolus says, the last time I listened to BBC Radio 4 about 7 years ago, there were several women telling me how racist the country was, never tuned in again. Have to say, nothing has changed. From Pamela, I used to trust Nigel until I saw an interview where he said that he is not going to do a mass deportation of these criminals, and that's it for me. The trust has gone. We are in a bloody mess. Tina Kennedy says, still can't believe this man thinks we will take him seriously while he is still parading Zia Yusuf around. Get him out first and then maybe. Oh my God, I so agree with you on that one. And similar from Stu Kellor, who says Zia is the real leader of Reform. What was he even doing on the stage? He couldn't wait to make himself centre of attention. I thought that. He's the head of bloody Doge UK. Why is he leading a mass deportation press conference? What the hell does he know about that? Okay, to your Union Jackass nominees. Emma Barnett, nominated by It's Only Me 44 for her deranged outburst about Reform's illegal immigration policy. Femi Olawale, nominated by Mad Dog Photo. You know why. His ridiculous rant on Lucy Connolly. And Ian Lee, nominated by Mick Cass for banning any Reform voters coming to his show, branding all thick and racist, disgusting. And your results are in. Let me get to them. In third place, with 15% of the vote, Ian Lee. The runner-up with 13% of the vote. Sorry, in third place, Emma Barnett with 13% of the vote. The runner-up with 15% of the vote, Ian Lee. But the winner with 72% of the vote, today's Union Jackass, Femi Olawale. And today's Greatest Britain, nominated by Sarah Booth, also from the New Culture Forum, is Rafe Hadel Manku, for calling out the Notting Hill Carnival for the violent gathering that it is. Stabbings, murders, thefts galore, assault, drugs, using residents' front yards as toilets. His comments are spot on, always worth listening to. Okay, now we've got a real special thing happening today. You don't have to move, you don't have to go anywhere, because for one day only, our uncancelled after show, which is usually hosted exclusively on Substack, is available for all of you. It will be premiering live on YouTube in just a matter of minutes. So all you have to do is stay on this stream until the end, and you will then be redirected to our premiere. If you don't get sent over, though, it's in the video section on my channel, and I will be in the live chat so we can have a conversation. So please just stay on, because I can't wait to speak to you, because I can't do that during the show. And in just 2 minutes, I will be there. Now, this is super exciting because my crack team of Royal Avengers have watched all 283 minutes of With Love Meghan to provide you every awkward interaction, every dig at the British royal family, every cringe lie about Prince Harry, so you don't have to watch. Here's the team: Angela Levin, Samantha Markle, the Sidley twins, and Lauren Lunn Farrow. So for once today, you don't have to head on over to Substack if you don't want to. Of course, we are streaming on Substack, but just hang on YouTube, because you're going to be able to watch this all live. We are back with tomorrow, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble. But as I say, please do stay here, and I'm going to jump on the live chat, and we're going to talk all through this special premiere for one day only. And most importantly, I promise to keep fighting for you.